Okay, now I think we're ready. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome
Welcome.
to the Unhinged Bookcast, a podcast hosted by Jess and LJ who love all things fantasy books. I'm LJ.
And I'm Jess, and we're happy to have you back again.
Whether we're deep diving into thoughts and theories or just writing the vibes, we love discussing our current reads with each other and now with all of you.
We are currently reading book 3 in the Kindred Curse series by Penn Cole, and tonight we're discussing chapters 40 through 59 of Heat of the Everflame.
So if you don't know what two new crowns we are freaking out about, then pause, finish reading, and then come back.
This is episode 8 in our Kindred Curse series.
We'll be finishing out this series next week. Can you believe it?
I know, it's crazy. I can't believe we're almost done with this series, but I really can't wait for the next one. It's going to be fun too.
I know, I'm so excited. So, speaking of which, we will be giving you your final clue tonight for our series that we'll be reading together and discussing, and we hope you all will join us.
So, we are taking a book club style approach in our podcast. So, if you're reading along with us, this will be spoiler free for you if you've read through our current reading section.
However, if you have already finished the series, please be considerate of us and our fellow readers and refrain from leaving spoilers in the comments.
And as always, these are adult fantasy books, so this is your content warning for the naughty words we use, as well as possible discussion of spicy and violent scenes from the book that may not be suitable for those little ears around you.
We do enjoy these types of conversations, but we will do our best to remind you to cover those sensitive ears beforehand. Also, a quick reminder that you can find us on Facebook and Instagram for the days in between.
As always, we like to break our discussions down into different categories: characters, world building, history and lore, clues and foreshadowing, honorable mentions, and then lastly, our thoughts and theories.
Also, we will be adding to our counters for cries, growling, and jaw ticking at the end of the episode, as well as our last clue for you guys to guess what our next book series will be. Now, let's get this discussion started. Except first, I would like to apologize. I have a sinus infection. So if my voice cuts out, I apologize. I will do my best. So, Jess, why don't you get us started?
Okay. All right. So, starting off with characters, as usual, we will start with Diem, our main character. Um, we've been saying from the get-go, she's something more, she's something special. She's more than
Yes.
just descended, but damn, I mean, she can access the magic of any realm she touches, and she's now the queen of 3 realms,
Three.
and has also somehow found herself a fugitive of 2 of those 3 realms now.
I have questions if it's more, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Um, so much happens with her, like always, but one big character thing that stood out to me that I figured I'd put here in the character section, since we'll talk about the rest of her stuff later. But this was a big one that happened, is she kind of allowed herself to succumb to the darkness for a brief second in Fortos when they're getting the prisoners out, and she forces the High General to kill himself using the Umbros magic.
Oh, yeah.
She's killed people in the past, but she never's actually like really wanted to kill those people. It was never out of anger or cold blood.
It
And
was like
this,
accidental.
yeah, it was accidental or self-defense, which I guess you could argue this one was self-defense in the defense of others, but the the difference was where her mindset was, is she felt
Yeah.
numb, her brain was like turned off, her heart was turned off, and she truly kind of wanted it to happen. So
Yeah.
that was a little change in DM's character this chunk.
Yeah, I agree.
Hmm.
All right. Then we have Henry, this little douchebag. He was with Lana before, and what a
Hmm.
dick.
Hmm.
And I called it, but I apparently didn't say it out loud, but I was pretty sure that he would be with Lana. Um, I think like at the first Guardians meeting or something like that, when we figured out that she was there, I was like, this is gonna be the other chick. I know it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny. I did
And I
not
think it was just
think
another
that.
like off the wall like thought that just happened to come true. But
Yeah.
um, at least they are officially over. Um,
Hmm.
but did you catch that little
Yes.
MFer knew Ariel was on the island?
I know.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know.
I mean orally.
You're good.
He knew that she was on the
Yep.
island the
Yep. That
entire time.
piece of shit.
And he like
And then what did he
thinks,
say? Like, he's like, well, I thought it would give you hope when I told you that the gods showed me a vision that she was okay. It's
yeah.
like, dude,
And
the
then
hell?
yeah, and then like he's like he just thinks like Vance is a god, and I also have other questions about that, but
Ugh. Then we'll do Luther.
okay.
Much better than Henry.
Much better. He's so cutesy. I love it. Still golden retriever, but cutesy.
No, he is not Golden Retriever.
He's golden retriever.
I know now who he reminds me of, and I
Okay,
don't.
who?
It's a spoiler for another book, so I don't want to say the name. Um,
Okay, you're gonna say it and then I'll
mm,
cut it out. Okay,
okay,
ready, set, say it. Oh,
and I love that character.
I
That's one
don't
of
think so.
my
Yes. No,
Oh
other
yes,
character
one of
is
my
so
other
much
friends.
more like touch her and die. I'll walk to the end of the world
No,
with
they are
you.
exactly the same. One has silver
Bullshit.
hair, one
Okay.
has black hair.
Bullshit. Okay. We can move on.
We'll argue about this later.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Anyways, Luther, this man has the patience of a god. I probably would have strangled DM by this point if I were him. Um, but he is the ever faithful, loyal, and patient boyfriend, prince, whatever we're calling him, since she has
Whatever.
not officially
She
given
hasn't
him any
officially, yeah.
titles. Um, he does not, however, get along with her mother, which is
No.
hilarious to me. The way that they bicker. And the scene where he comes back down the prison hallway after retrieving her mother who took off, and he's like carrying her under his arm, and she's kicking and fighting, and he goes, DM, why is it that the traits I find so endearing in you, I find so irritating in your mother? I was like, that
Dude,
was
I
like
feel
right out of
like
a
this is
Marvel.
something my husband would have said. Alex, but I'm calling her Alex. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
Alex, damn, is she loyal to her duties, man?
Mm-hmm.
So she is now working as the High General, but she's working for Remus
Mm-hmm.
since he is like the current crown until D is coronated, which I think is some horse shit. Um,
Yeah.
but she is also doing what she can to still help the gang by like, when she's like kind of like looking over at where what was it, the catapult or whatever it is,
Yeah, she was
without
trying really
saying
hard
it.
to warn him with her
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I admire her because she like in serving Remus, she's truly serving DM, but she's having to go against things that she would usually do, and
Well,
that's
I
hard.
don't even
That's
think
hard.
it's that. It's like she is loyal to the people.
That is true. And I
And
think
that,
that's why DM made her
yeah,
the High General because
yeah,
she is loyal to the people.
yep,
Mm-hmm. All right, and then we have Taryn. Um, Not a whole lot new about Taryn in this chapter chunk.
yeah.
Still the class clown, heart of gold, but he always knows how to lighten the mood or ruin it. Depends on the situation.
I thought it was so funny when they're like, what were they doing? Oh, she was trying to get um him to like watch over Zal or something like that. And they're making basically like sex jokes.
Oh no,
Like
when
he
Luther
might,
tells them to leave their bedroom or her bedroom when he's finally feeling
yeah,
better.
yeah.
I almost put that in here because
And she's
that I
like,
have
yeah,
highlighted.
she's like, it might be hard for him or something.
Yes.
Oh my God, I was dying. I was laughing
He's
so
like,
hard.
look after Luther. If anything, swells up, make sure you rub it really good.
Yes, that's what Taryn says. Yes.
Yes, to DM.
And then so she was giving it right back was out. It was so freaking
That
funny.
scene was awesome.
I was dying.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then we have his brother, Amen. We do know that he has not been enforcing the laws,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still not sure about him. But I think he's not sure about himself because he
Mm-hmm.
does stand, and he's the only one to stand in the room when Remus, Gareth, and him are having that meeting with House Sanavir.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the only one that stands and says, Your Majesty. And so I think he's caught in that middle where he doesn't know what to do. Or I think he feels that the only way that he can help Diem is by appearing to be doing his duties with Remus and Gareth and just
Not
being
causing
that.
waves.
Yeah, and kind of like Alex is about to start doing too, but I think he's already been doing it, just being
Hmm.
that buffer, being that inside man kind of thing.
Well, and also I think back to I think he's just a very just has a huge lack of confidence in himself, due to his upbringing and his father who was abusive. Because remember when Diem is there in the hallway when she's run into Luther's room and she confronts him about the little boy that he ran down with a horse.
Yeah.
And he's like, it was an accident. And she goes, well, you didn't even get off your horse and try to help him or anything. You just like fixed your coat and ran off on your horse.
Yeah.
And he was like, you don't understand the kind of pressure I'm under from my dad. We always have to keep up a front and be perfect and set an image and
Yeah.
whatnot. And then the whole situation with, I think it was with Sarai and Luther kind of got on him and he's like, dude, no one's ever like given you a chance. She gave you a chance and you broke her trust. Like if anyone, if you should want to serve anyone, it's her. What's your
Yeah.
problem?
Yeah.
So he's conflicted. He's got some issues. He needs to go to
Yeah.
therapy for sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
We probably should too. But anyway,
We all need therapy.
we all need a lot of therapy, some more than others.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, moving on. We have Orally, DM and Teller's mom. I still don't know what to think of her. I don't know. I mean, she seems to like know where she thinks her loyalty should lie, which would be with the mortals. But then she might be kind of seeing things from DM's perspective. Like DM makes some good points here and there where she's like, "Oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't be hating the Descended as much as I do." I don't know though. She's just I don't trust her. She has too many secrets and she can't even acknowledge the crown even though her own daughter wears it because it's a Descended thing. And then she keeps like trying to ignore the fact that DM is Descended and she does not like Luther. I don't like her. I don't know. I just can't decide.
I loathe this woman.
Yeah.
I absolutely hate her. Um, I again think I have all this figured out now.
Okay.
But she gives me like think the old crone from Tangled.
Yes.
So yes, another Disney reference. I understand. But
Of course.
it's like I'm gonna protect you. I'm gonna make you think that I'm this loving person, but you're
Yeah.
just a pawn in my game, and I think I know what the game is. And we can keep going later, but
Okay. But that
yeah,
analogy hits the nail on the head because that's
yeah.
exactly how I feel about it too.
Uh-huh.
I was like, yep,
It's
you
a
said that
I
and
don't
mhm.
actually give two shits about you. It's what you're gonna do for me or what I want you to do for me.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to fall for this prince that's gonna tell you otherwise. Or
And she
she
still
doesn't,
believes in Vance too.
oh
Like,
yeah, hardcore. I have thoughts, but it's like she doesn't want her getting close to Luther
mm-hmm.
because Luther is this descendant and he would be part of what they're trying to take down. Like the Guardians want to take down all the
Mm-hmm.
descended. And we'll get into this but no,
Okay.
actually we'll get into this later because otherwise
Okay.
I'm gonna go down a rabbit hole and we'll never
Okay.
finish this.
Okay. Sounds good.
Oh, Jean Hanovier. That was my note. I'm so sorry.
You're good.
We learned that he is Zelaric's father and he's wanting to kill him just like Zelaric wants to kill Jean. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see what happens there, but I'm pretty sure one of them's gonna die, and I hope it's Jean and not Zelaric.
Pretty sure we know who.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
hopefully.
All right, Ennis, the descended man in the prison with green eyes that DM helps. She heals him and frees him. Finds out that he's been there for decades, and then he helps DM free the other descended in the prison that will ally with them, and then helps get fugitives to safety. Um, and then we also find out that he might have a thing for Runa. You can tell us who Runa is.
Yes, Runa is one of the mortal guardians that was held prisoner. I believe she had the two kids too.
Mm-hmm.
The first of the mortals in the prison to step up and like show faith in DM. And she, like you just said, may also have a little thing for Ennis. Like maybe
Little side romance going on in the book.
either that or it's just they're both able to see that the other side's not so bad kind
Yeah,
of thing is it what I
yeah.
thought. Yeah.
Oh, I thought romance, but
Yeah, of course
they
you
both
did.
kind of go together.
All right, who's next?
All right, we have Mabel. I loved Mabel, the Montios girl, and that speaks for the adults that come to rescue DM Luther and Arlie. So we find out she's about 7 years old, and she just seems super cute and super confident for her age. She's like talking to these soldiers with authority and confidence and telling them what for, speaking for the adults behind her. And I have a 6, almost 7 year old, and I just can't imagine him being able to do something like that. So I thought she was super cute.
All right, then we have Counselor Hepta, one of the Montios women that escorted them to the Elder of the Crown Council of Montios.
I think she is the elder of the Crown Council. She
Oh,
helped
yeah,
escort them to the palace, and she is the elder.
you're right. I
You're
read
good.
really well.
No, you're fine. And then we have Nectar.
Yes.
This is Mabel's father. Um, he's able to remove DM's chains with very little noise or pressure or anything. She says she barely notices that he's working on them. And he has taken a vow of silence. And then he gets all flustered when DM gives him a compliment, like he's never heard one before.
All right. And then we have the King of Fortos, or I guess we could say the former King of Fortos,
Hmm.
also known as child number 1593 30. And I thought this was very interesting that he doesn't have a name. And I don't know if this means anything, but maybe we might find out.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
know. I couldn't decide if he was messing with her or if
oh,
he
I don't
had a
think
name.
so. I don't think so. Because think about it, like this is like a basically like the army and all that. Like
Oh
he's
yeah.
probably
Hmm.
like some adopted or not adopted, but like orphan child.
Probably.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and then I also have Raimari, the
Hmm.
dead Montios Scrivern, with the lavender dragon fire that she got the last dragon fire or whatever back in Umbrios in that jar.
Yeah.
Mhm. And then next we have world building. So this one I kind of tried to keep it short and sweet for tonight. So Umbrios, we got just a little bit of a glimpse of Umbrios in this section before we moved on. It was just kind of when they were leaving Umbrios. And they left pretty quickly.
Hmm.
Not much extra was there to learn about Umbrios. And then we're getting back to Luminos, and there's we notice that there's like a whole bunch more Amarian army guards, and the whole palace is surrounded when they come back from Fortos.
Hmm.
And then when we're at Fortos, the whole prison is like a stone dungeon. And then there's one specific cell that is all surrounded in Godstone, or maybe it just had a Godstone door
I think I just had a Godstone door.
to that one. Okay. And
Yeah.
then the inmates are just treated insanely horribly. And the king
Hmm.
says his only requirement is that he has to keep them breathing, which is
Yeah.
really sad.
Yeah.
And then everything in the prison has a blood lock. So only the king of Fortos can open them, which we find out later that she is the queen of Fortos now. And that's why she can open them. So
Yes.
it made it kind of official.
Hmm.
And then we head over to Montios with the weather. Why I put that in? Don't know. It's cold and snowing in Montios, but it sounds like heaven to me.
Me
Uh,
too.
yeah, I love it. Um, they have their palace in the mountains, and they use these like ice bridges, I guess, that come and
Hmm.
go to basically get them in and out of the inside of these mountains where the palace is,
This
or
made me
the
think of Frozen when
yes,
Elsa
uh-huh,
makes her ice palace.
ice palace,
Yep.
yes. But like what I thought was interesting is like the snow goes over it so that you can't see it,
Hmm.
but there's still like light in there. I thought that was neat. Okay, now this part is important. There is an East Montios, or better known as the Forgotten Lands.
And I have some thoughts on this later. But
And
just briefly, remember when we were talking? I don't even know if we were
that's,
recording last week, but we were
I
talking about
know.
how much bigger Montios is than all the other realms.
Did we? Okay, I don't even know. I don't think we were recording. So we stopped recording last week and then we were just chit-chatting. And then mind you, this is like 1 o'clock in the morning. And then I started saying some things after we were looking over the map and stuff. And Jess goes, hit record. Before you continue, hit
Yep.
record.
We
So
were
I
having
hit
so many
record.
good thoughts
We were
coming
having
out.
so many good thoughts. And like we can kind of get into that more when we get to the bottom. But
Hmm.
because I don't even know if number 10 even made it into thoughts and theories last time. I'd have to go back and look, but we can go over number 10.
Okay.
And yes, East Montios, and about how Montios is about double the size of any of the other realms.
Hmm.
Okay. And there's a very visible border, whatever that was on the map in
Well,
the
the other
library.
borders you could see where the lines had been like erased and
Uh-huh.
redrawn and erased and redrawn to like make the borders, but not Montios. Those were
But
solid.
not Montios. That was a solid
Hmm.
border right down the middle of it.
Yep.
Um, so yes, so we have, but yes, forgotten lands. And we can come back to that.
I'm sure glad that you took over world building because
I did.
yeah, I read all this. And obviously, like the Forgotten Lands part, I have thoughts and theories on that, but the rest of it, I was like not paying attention to the details. And I will admit, I was
There
halfway through the
wasn't
details, and
as
then I
many
was like,
details this time.
Leslie will get the details. I'll
I
just
mean,
keep reading.
I probably might have skipped over some too. Like I said, I've got assigned
You did way
infections.
better
So
than me because I had no notes on world building, so good job.
yeah, I didn't take as many this time, but that's what we got there. So moving on to history and lore. Okay, so starting us off, I have chapter 40. Um, so when was this? Okay, so the gang is headed to the library to basically wait for Saray to jump off the balcony, which is what ends
Mm-hmm.
up happening. And I believe it's Alex is telling her about Tybalt during the start of the Blood War. And this is when the other crowns were trying to get Igneos to be part of the war, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he took on three Gryverns at once and gravely injured Montios Gryvern to the point where they thought that that was why she was able to be killed by the Guardian so
Yeah, that played a
easily.
big part in allowing her to, yeah, be killed.
Yep. And we were still unsure of who these other two Gryverns were that took her on, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe with after talking with Saray, like Saray
Mm-hmm.
might have been there as well.
Yeah.
And then speaking of Saray, in chapter 44, Saray and Tybalt are mated or love each other or whatever we want to call it. And I just want to say I called that.
You
I called
did.
that almost
You did. That
instantly.
made me sad though. Could you
It
imagine,
does.
like, separated from each other for thousands of
Thousands and thousands
years
of years.
and
Absolutely
still
not.
hanging on to that? Oh, that
That's
made me sad
that's
for her and
that's true
him.
love.
No
That's
wonder
true
he's a
love, my
grump.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. He could be a very grumpy old man.
Yeah. Okay. Chapter 46, we learn that Lumnos is the only realm with a challenging. All the other realms, there's no challenging period. Like your magic, the magic chooses you, you're coronated, you're a crown.
Yep, and that's it, which is
Hmm.
really interesting for um, these two that we've just learned about. All right, so then I have it's chapter 53, and this is kind of about this other magic because she's trying to melt the godstone or whatever, and
Hmm.
her godhood's not wanting to do it or whatever. And I don't know if this is necessarily history and lore, but I just found it kind of that it could be because of some of my theories. So
I think I put this
um
inclusion shadowing actually, unless you
maybe
changed
you
it.
did.
But that's okay. No, go for it.
I
Let's hear it.
glanced at it, kind of what you put, but so it says the odd, destructive silvery light burst from my skin. I'd once believed it a reflex, some uncontrollable force that worked in ways I couldn't predict, let alone control. But every time I used it, I came a little closer to bringing it to heel. I honed in on its essence, where it came from, what it did. My usual magic flowed from my godhood, but this power seemed imbued in my blood itself. And when it brushed against the toxic bleakness of the Godstone's touch, it did not cower. It merged, it fulfilled. I thought I'd been destroying the Godstone, but it was never destruction. It was balance. Hot and cold, light and shadow, life and death. In the center of that all consuming glow, a bathed me in its eerie, calm, quiet. Nope, quiet, calm. A knowledge of all that was and ever will be, a glimpse from the gods themselves at a truth too pure for humans' minds to comprehend. And yet, for that moment, one perfect moment, I understood, but it was an answer I wasn't yet meant to know. Not until my worth was proven, not until my soul had been judged. I cried out as it slipped away, evaporating like a wet stone baking beneath the sun. It tingled at my fingertips and whispered in my ear of choices and prophecies and fate. But when the light ebbed, so too did it fade.
Mm-hmm. The you've been saying from like the beginning, the what does it say? Like hot and cold,
Hot and
light and
cold,
shadow,
light and shadow.
the whole balance thing that made me think of another series that we read. And I've been thinking this, I haven't written it down, but I've been thinking this for a couple books. And then they said this stuff, and I was like, oh,
Well, I've been
Leslie was
talking about
onto
it too.
something.
Like, is this the
You have.
elemental
Mm-hmm.
magic? Like that we talked about, like how
She says it's different from
yes, which is
her
so I'm not
godhood.
talking about the godhood. I've
Mm-hmm.
been talking for a while about this elemental magic that is what that was like basically gifted to all the creature. What is it? It says something like all the creatures,
It's the magic
the
from the
air,
Everflame
and the
tree,
soil
basically.
from the
Mm-hmm.
Everflame tree,
Yep.
which is why I think that like when she can grant access to that magic, when she's in Fortos
Mm-hmm.
to let
Luther's magic
Luther's
flow
magic
freely.
flow. And then like when
Mm-hmm.
she does it with the Umbros descended at her ball or whatever, and it comes from the soil from down
Yep.
deep within, and she releases that magic. Mhm. I don't know if it's the same as what's going on here, but that's what I would assume because there's no way there's like three different magics, but maybe there is. I don't know. So I think this is, yeah, that balance is second um that second magic that they just don't straight up say that it's second magic, which everything else we just kind of leave out in the open, like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
this is what's going on, but we're not going to actually tell you that's what's going on. But this one has been very not in our faces. So
I agree.
I'm making it in our face because I think it's important. Whether it is or not, I don't know. But
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
um, I didn't realize I'm the next one, so I apologize. Chapter 58, on their little solo ride she's taking with Saray, and they're talking about the other Gryverns, and
Mm-hmm.
Saray shared mixed emotions about Lumnos and the rest of the Kindred. And also she shares emotions about Kindred that she didn't like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
So
she like I think with Lumnos, she was like, "Oh, you really loved Lumnos, right?" And she was felt like emotions of like a strong connection down the bond.
yeah, and I think
And
we have
then
this in
oh, we
like in
do.
detail
You're right, we
later, but
do. Okay.
it's
Yep, you're
still
right. We're
like
still in history,
history and
huh?
stuff like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're kind of getting into clues and foreshadowing a little bit.
I know.
Okay.
But yeah, I kind of put it in there because yeah, like obviously she
I didn't
had
know where to put a
some
lot of
type of thoughts,
stuff.
feelings, and she knows more about stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
a lot of the like history kind of ties into the clues and foreshadowing, I think, in
yeah,
this chapter
in
chunk.
this section for
Yeah,
sure, they kind of go one and the same. But
definitely.
all
Okay,
right,
then we go all the way to the very last chapter we read for this chunk, which is 59, and the we learn that the Montios descended are extremely reclusive, which we knew already. Um, but once their magic comes in, they don't speak to outsiders, which is why they had the 7-year-old speaking for them, the
yep,
adults.
yep.
And then some of them never speak at all again. I could not imagine not ever speaking again.
Oh my God, I know.
Kill me.
Oh, I'd die.
And then same chapter 59, the Montios descended. They claim that they banned mortals from their lands out of kindness because the mortals were unable to weather the harshness of the terrain and climate like the descended could. And then they also say that they barely enforce the exile anyways and always turn a blind eye to the mortals hiding out in their realm. They kind of compare themselves to
Umbrios.
Umbros and say
Yeah.
that they're, they don't necessarily like offer shelter, but they don't turn them away either.
Yeah.
And then this was really cool. The same chapter 59, we also learned that Montios governs itself. So this is a direct quote from the book. Says it's one of the council members says Montios governs itself differently from the other realms. Here it's our council, not our crown, that makes decisions for our realm. The crown is a member of the council, but the rest of us are chosen by the people of Montios. If we cannot come to an agreement, the crown's will is decisive. Otherwise, they have only one vote, the same as each of us here. Which DM was like, oh, that's
Well,
awesome. Like they
yeah. Well,
elect you to your positions.
and she was also mentioning about how some of the books that she read that like
Mm-hmm.
that's what the people used to do.
That's what the
I think
mortals
before
did.
the
Yep.
kindred even came. Yeah.
Yeah, because they tried out all different types of government and kept getting better and better as they went along until the kindred came and just like cut it all off and said, we're the gods now.
Yeah.
But Monteo stuck with that. So that was kind of cool. All right, clues and foreshadowing. So, all the way back, the first chapter we read for this chunk, which is chapter 40, Diem is walking along. They're waiting for Sarai to come save them from Umbros and take them out. And she's kind of like sitting there panicking, flinging the key around that the queen gave her from to the library. And she notes how it's kind of strange that the queen had given her this key and said it's an open invitation to visit whenever she wanted to. But then in the next breath she basically tells her that she's dying, the Queen of Umbros is dying, and her successor would basically be the death of Diem. So that was just an interesting note, and I have some thoughts on that later. But
And I just wanted to mention that I don't think we put it in here. So the key to the library is in the back of her wardrobe in her room
mm-hmm.
because Dia's taking it off before she puts on that little like sexy nightie and basically
Yeah,
teases the shit out of
that's right.
Luther, which is hilarious. But yes, so
Mm-hmm.
that's where the key is. So I'm sure it's coming back and she's gonna
Oh,
try and find it,
definitely.
but it's in the back of her wardrobe. So let's remember that.
Yes, let's remember that. All right, same chapter, chapter 40. Uh, Diem is begging the Queen of Umbros to let them go. She's like, just let us go, let us get Luther healed and healthy, and I promise I'll return. And the Queen of Umbros responds, we do not have the luxury of time. Every day, he grows stronger. Soon, even you will not be able to stop him. And if that happens, this entire world will fall, and so will everyone in it. I
Who the
have more
fuck is
thoughts on that.
he?
I know. I have some thoughts
I
on
mean,
that.
I
I'm sure
know
you
who
do
it is,
too.
but
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
chapter 41. Um, Luther says to Diem, the day we first met, you healed Lily. That's Fortos magic. Just now, the ice, Montios magic, the flames in Igneos, and in Umbros, you heard Zalaric's thoughts, didn't you? That's how you knew he betrayed us. All of it. I knew it. You can wield all the kindred's magic. And there's confirmation. I've been saying it for a while now, maybe one or two episodes. She obviously like we know now after reading more, but I was like, that's a called it moment for me. She can use any of the magic of the soil that she's touched, which is also why Luther was like, you should just go to Sophos and touch the soil, basically. It's just a
Uh-huh.
hunch I have. Yeah.
And see, I agree with you. I think you are right, but I think that's what we're supposed to think. And I think she has all the magic regardless.
You're probably right. I bet she
Yes.
does. But we have not seen the Sophos magic yet. Honestly, I don't
Well,
even
what
truly
is
know
the
what it
Sophos
is.
magic?
Exactly.
Isn't
Yeah.
it like, okay, and we're back with that answer. The answer is a thought and spark. Sophos
Mm-hmm.
is thought and spark. So wisdom is what you're thinking?
Yeah, so this is the cunning spark of wisdom true. So maybe I don't know that
Wisdom,
they know that they like
knowledge.
they we know that they're really smart. They're like sciency and stuff.
Yeah, and she can't seem to figure out a damn thing. So maybe not. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe we haven't figured it out yet. I don't know. She seems kind of wise sometimes, and other times I'm like, girl.
What the heck, girlfriend?
Yeah.
All right. So chapter 43. Mom's weird little note in the margin of one of her healing notes.
hmm
Diem dash Coriel Godstone equals death, life equals question mark.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not fully sure what to think of this other than I think it explains that she either knows of Diem's connection to the Heartstone, but supposedly only the crowns know about the Heartstone, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that it's quote unquote a conduit of the descendants' magic, right? Because
Right.
I think I've already said it about how I don't think it's a conduit. I think it's basically a siphon.
Right.
Um, or that Diem or cure is found on the island, aka Flame Root. And but I think that's where she found Diem, like I
I
said
am
earlier.
back on that track a little bit now after one
Yeah.
of the things we're going to get to here shortly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like confirmed for me, but
Okay.
yeah. All right. So, but okay, do you have any thoughts on like Godstone equals death, life
I
equals?
do. I think that, and I had this in my thoughts and theories, but I'll just throw it in here now. It's all about balance, right? And so when she's able to destroy the Godstone, that's a different, like she talks about how that's a different feeling than her godhood, like her normal magic. That's a different kind of magic that she feels. And I think it's that element, it has something to do with the elemental magic, which I believe is from the Everflame. So it's all about
Yeah.
balance. I think the Everflame balances out the Heartstone and the Kindred's magic. So Godstone is from the Kindred that equals death, life equals the Everflame tree, the magic from the Everflame.
Okay. How do they make the Godstone?
I don't know. Well, we don't know. She doesn't know either. Like she knows she can make it,
Other than like her flame
but
and
she doesn't know
everything like that.
how.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know either. I just that was just a thought that literally
Mm-hmm.
popped to the front of my head. All right. So chapter 44 in Luther's room, she basically does a blood
Mm-hmm.
bargain with Luminos, like the statue of Luminos to save Luther.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily a blood bargain. I think it was just how she basically got to
Described it.
cut her no how it happened that she would cut her freaking hand so
Yeah.
that she'd have blood when she went back in there.
But Luminos did also, like, as soon as she offered her blood, this little statue of Luminos had, like, a blood tear that ran down her face.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. And
Mm-hmm.
that she said that she would do anything that they asked or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and then like the next day or whatever they go to Fortos and
Yeah, I didn't realize how fast
everything
all that
starts
happened.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
And
Yeah, and
then,
then like the next day she gets another crown, like she
yeah.
keeps getting
Whew.
crowns.
This all happened within like 3 days. They leave Umbros, Luther gets healed, they go to Fortos, she becomes a queen of Fortos. Like the next
They
day
get
she's in
kicked back out.
Montios. Goodness
They go to Montios.
gracious.
Yeah. She becomes queen of Montios the next day. Wild.
Okay, same chapter 44. She finally remembers the vial of potion from Arboros that can heal any ill. And I had in my notes like 2 or 3 chapters before this, or like 1 or 2 chapters before, I was like, oh, the potion from Arboros. Like I know it's her blood that heals them, but
Right. We know that.
like why didn't you try the potion? And then she does, but I think it's gonna cause more problems, honestly. Anyway, so she gives it to Luther orally, and then she thinks maybe she should put some in the wound, and as she does, her blood from the cut on her palm gets into the womb, and obviously it heals him. But they all think it was the potion from Arboros, and now they think, or Remus at least, like they think that Arboros has been harboring a cure from Godstone for Godstone all this time.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And like she kind of starts to think about it
she does
possibly
have a
being her
little thought.
blood. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But doesn't think too far into it. And that keeps pissing me off.
See, this is where she does not have the Sophos wisdom yet.
She does not.
Does
Somebody
not
needs
have
to
that
smack
magic
her with
yet.
a damn book or something. I don't know.
She does have a lot going on, though. I mean, in her defense, I mean,
Well, yeah,
brain can
but
only hold so much information, right?
she's just stupid. Anyway,
Oh.
chapter 46. we know that Eleanor has been working with the houses to sway their favor to DM, and especially with the younger ones.
Hmm. I love that she made Eleanor her regent. That was a wise decision. She has been wise in the decisions of who she's made her like given different titles to. I will say
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
All right, and then chapter 46, Alex or Alix took the Black Rocks. That was one of our
Uh-huh.
questions. Who took the Black Rocks, which we know is Godstone, from the cottage remains?
Yep.
We didn't see that one coming. We didn't think it was Alix.
Yeah.
But it is Godstone, and that we did see coming.
We called that one. Yeah.
But it's in its raw, unmolded form. And supposedly only the kindred can make it, and only the kindred can destroy it. And then we also learn that Godstone repels magic, which we didn't really learn that. We know that it repels magic when it's like inside of a descended when they get hit by an arrow or something of Godstone. It obviously repels their magic. But then Elix talks about how they can turn it into shields, and this is the tool she's been working on. And then it can apparently expel magic externally as well. So it'll give them kind of like a hand up in the war coming. All right, chapter 49. DM returns to the palace to find everyone gone. And so this was after she went on her little excursion to find Henry and break up with him or
Yeah,
whatever.
bye bitch.
Jeez, no kidding. So then she returns to the palace. Everyone's gone. The palace is empty. The only people not gone is Perth and Teller. And Perth says that the regent, which is Remus, called everyone away on some urgent business except Teller. This is we know now, like he pulled everyone away because they were trapping Sarai because they knew that she was going to take off to Fortos.
Yep.
But also in this little exchange between her and Teller, Teller talks about her ability to use or she tells Teller about her ability to use all the magics and absorb others' magic. And Teller makes a comment about her birth father saying, quote, Mother said your birth father had a rare condition. Maybe that wasn't a lie. If he could do this too, that would explain why she tried so hard to hide you. So,
Yep.
and then same chapter, a little bit later, still a conversation between Teller and DM about DM's crown. And Teller is very knowledgeable about the history of the Descended because he's been going to the Descended school.
Uh-huh.
And Teller says, Your crown. DM says, It's different. I know. It changed after the rite of coronation. I'm not sure why. Teller says, The new part of it, dot, dot, dot. This almost sounds crazy, but it almost looks like dot, dot, dot.
Uh,
the oh my gosh, the open-ended statements in this book. Like
I'm about to go batshit with
at
this stuff.
first it was like, okay, the suspense, let's figure out what's
Yeah.
going on here, but it's becoming
But at this point,
too
it's obnoxious.
oh,
Yeah,
it is
I
obnoxious. I
agree.
agree.
Just like
Mm-hmm.
give us some stuff.
Ugh, I know.
Or like there's other stuff that is just like being shoved down our throats. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's
yeah,
either one or the other. It's all or nothing in
it's
this
all or
book.
nothing.
Mm-hmm. Same chapter 49. She goes to save Soraya and is met by guards everywhere, saying that she is forbidden to pass from the regent. And Luther finds her and joins her. The guards have Godstone weapons. And then after some fighting, she's trying really hard not to kill them and all this stuff. And then she accidentally destroys all of their weapons, even the Godstone, which supposedly can only be destroyed by the kindred, or so
Mm-hmm.
they thought.
So they thought.
Also, though, I couldn't remember, is it they can only be destroyed by the kindred or by all 9 crowns at once? Because they talk about how after the Blood War, all of the Godstone was rounded up and brought to Fortos, and they were like supposedly they destroyed it all.
See, and I thought she asked the king of Fortos about this, and he said that they couldn't, and so
But
they
that was
kept
what they
them
were
all.
led to believe, I thought, is that they had all been destroyed. And then the King of Fortos was like, no, we couldn't destroy it.
I think that's what
Mm-hmm.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Chapter 52. Quote from Orly about Diem's father.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of going back on what we just talked about with Teller. So, quote, the man who sired you was different, not like any mortal or descended I'd ever met. When you were born with brown eyes, I thought the gods had blessed us and you had escaped it. Then your magic came in. You were only 10. I wanted to give you a normal life for as long as I could. D then pushes her. DM says, and what is the truth? Who is my birth father? Where is he? I know you lied about him dying too.
Mhm.
Ariel recoils and says, that wasn't a lie. He died the day you were born. I searched her face for some hint of dishonesty, but she was either Amarian's greatest liar or she truly believed it. And I
Mhm.
thought about this over and over and over. And
Mhm.
I think my theory still stands that Orly like took her.
Mhm.
Um, but she says that wasn't a lie.
Mhm. Chapter 53. The King of Fortos tries to keep her contained in this cell, so he like takes Orly and Diem to this private cell that they use to interrogate their most dangerous prisoners. And he's like, "Well, here you can have a private moment to discuss things."
Is
And
this the one with
he
the Godstone door?
Yes, this is the one
Okay,
with the
okay.
Godstone door. He locks them in there to talk, but Luther stays on the outside. And conveniently, Luther's magic has disappeared at this point. So
Mhm.
he's defenseless, basically, against the king. Anyways, so they're contained in this cell. The king is basically killing Luther. And so she turns inward to try and find the magic that she used to destroy the Godstone, and she seems to find it. So this is actually the exact same quote that Leslie put in history.
Yeah.
I'm gonna reiterate it because I think it
Yes.
has
I think
I
I there's a lot going on. Yeah.
there, so it doesn't hurt to just say it one more time. So,
Okay.
um, she's trying to get rid of this door. She says she looks inward, tries to find the magic that she used to destroy the weapons in the palace against the guards. She says, quote, the odd destructive silver light burst from my skin. I'd once believed it a reflex, but some uncontrollable force that worked in ways I couldn't predict, let alone control. But every time I used it, it came a little closer to bringing it to heal. I honed in on its essence, where it came from, what it did. My usual magic flowed from my godhood, but this power seemed imbued with my blood, in my blood itself. And when it brushed against the toxic bleakness of the Godstone's touch, it did not cower, it merged, it fulfilled. I thought I'd been destroying the Godstone, but it was never destruction, it was balance. Hot and cold, light and shadow, life and death. In the center of all of that all-consuming glow, a preternatural wisdom bathed me in its eerie, quiet calm, a knowledge of all that was and ever will be, a glimpse from the gods themselves at a truth too pure for human minds to comprehend.
Mhm.
So,
So what do you think? Because I've noticed so much that like in the just maybe even in this chapter section alone that she's glowing silver
mm,
like
mm.
all the time when she uses her magic.
And
And who else is glowing silver? The man from her
the man,
vision.
yeah, this descended man or whatever that's helping the guardians.
Mm.
And I noticed this probably at least a book ago that all of the magics in all of the realms, it's they have a balance, light and shadow, hot and cold, life and death. I mean, like Fortos is healing or death magic, Luminos is light magic or shadow magic. It's all a balance. So, like the overall balance, like I was talking about earlier, I think it's basically Heartstone versus Everflame. I think the Everflame is the balance to the Heartstone.
Yep. I think so too.
Yep. All right, so then chapter 53. This was a big chapter. There's a lot from in
Yeah.
53.
There's a lot going on.
The king of Fortos is bleeding out. They had a fight, and she tried not to kill him, and then ends up dealing a fatal blow. He's bleeding out, and then all of a sudden, he seems to be glowing, and he reaches for her ankle and says, so King of Fortos says, daughter of the forgotten. DM
Mm-hmm.
says, my blood turned to ice. The king's voice had changed. There was nothing wounded in it, no dying rattle of a final breath. In fact, he sounded strong, impossibly powerful, and impossibly ancient. My godhood responded to its call like a reunion with a long lost friend. It brushed excitedly against my skin and hummed with an eerie anticipation, as if straining for some long sought prize it deeply craved. The king's skin began to glow. The scarlet of his irises faded to a churning, smoky gray. And then the
Mm-hmm.
king of Fortos in a different voice, like a deep, ancient
Had
male
ancient
voice,
voice. Yep.
says, "Never before have I made this choice." His voice boomed throughout the hall. "It was not an easy one for me, nor will it be an easy one for you." DM says, "What choice?" I gritted out. The voice of my godhood answered back. It screamed and shouted, whispered and sang, all at once and in a language I wasn't sure I even knew. The king's skin had grown almost too blinding to gaze upon. I stared down at my own hands, both alight with equal star-bright brilliance. The king of Fortos then says, "Guard my people well." Luther then jumps in and says, "Blessed kindred, I think that's ... dot dot dot."
Yeah.
DM says, "The king's back arched unnaturally towards the sky." King of Fortos' last words says, "Remember my sister's words. Beware of my brother's wrath." DM says, "Light exploded in a wave around me, and I let loose a piercing scream. Claim me, daughter of the forgotten." It was calling my name. It was a calling my soul could not ignore. I closed my eyes and surrendered. Whew.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is Fortos, the kindred talking, right?
Yes.
Okay. He's never made this choice before.
Yep.
So a queen instead of a king, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the males of Fortos have, like, what do we say, a killing or
They have the
fighting
death
magic?
magic. They have the
Death
death
magic.
magic. And
Yep.
the women get the healing
The
magic.
healing magic. Yep.
And the women have
So,
never been chosen as queen.
yeah. And then, nor will it be an easy choice for you. So, will it be hard for her to choose to heal the world instead of destroy it,
Mm-hmm.
maybe?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's going to be our end conflict. Is she has to figure out if she's going to go with the kindred route with her old man, which I think is the creepy guy in Montios, or is it going to be like this Everflame type magic that she
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
to heal the world?
Yeah.
He says, "Then remember my sister's words." And the
Mm-hmm.
only sister kindred or whatever that we know that Dee has spoke to was Lumnos, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then beware my brother's wrath. Do you mean number 10?
Yes.
Do you mean number 10? I
That's
think she
my
means
thought.
number 10.
100%.
And
This is
I
number 10
this
who
is
wanted
100%
conflict,
number 10.
who didn't care about what happened on their world, who
Yeah.
wanted the conflict.
Yeah. And I don't remember how much we talked about this last time. So we'll go over what we mean by number 10 later.
Yes. Yes.
Chapter 58. We are in Montios now, and Dee takes Saray out to like get some air or whatever. And she tells Saray to let loose and explore. They have this little conversation about the past and the kindred, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she asks Saray if she liked all the kindred or just Luminos, to which Saray responds with a feeling of great disdain and unease, suggesting that there was one that was bad or that she just liked, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And DM starts listing off each of the kindred, trying to read Saray's emotions to each one, but none of the names elicit the type of emotion that she had just felt from her.
Mm-hmm.
So then Saray snarls, and as she points them to the east in the direction of a dark forest, a different terrain from the typical Montios Mountains. Dee feels like she is being drawn to that spot, right? And hears her godhood say, "Claim me, daughter of the forgotten." Um, DM then says, "I jolted upright in surprise. My godhood had only spoken that phrase to me twice before. Each time I'd surrendered to a crown. Something else tickled at my mind,
Mm-hmm.
a memory, perhaps, or a dream, an image of screaming and bloodshed, of explosions and a blinding light, of my mother's arms around me and a crushing pain."
Mm-hmm.
Let's discuss both these
Oh
parts.
boy.
Okay.
Okay.
So, okay. Her talking with Saray about the other kindred, right?
Mm-hmm.
So obviously there was one she disliked.
And when she named off all the ones she knew of, she never felt the same strong disdain that she had felt.
Yeah. And it was like she said, so I can't remember, and it's not in here, but something about how it was almost like Saray couldn't tell her something, like
Mm-hmm.
um her chains or whatever was keeping her from speaking or what, I
Yeah.
don't remember exact, but it was like, mm-hmm, number 10,
Yep.
number 10, and she wants to tell you about number 10, but she can't tell you about number 10.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
um and then so also this dream memory thing that keeps coming back to her,
Mm-hmm.
and she doesn't have it, right? She doesn't know like what actually is going down, but she remembers something and she doesn't know why she remembers something or
Mm-hmm.
even the actual memory. And we talked about this last time about how the Queen of Umbrios was like
Yep.
trying to make her remember, just like know that, like, hey, memories can't come back once they've been
Once they've been
erased.
taken.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Even like the king of, or the Fortos, or no, wait, hold on.
Ambrose
I got this. The
himself.
Umbros
Yeah,
himself couldn't
Ambrose
do it.
himself could not bring back memories once they've been taken.
Yes. And then, so an image of screaming and bloodshed, of explosions and blinding light, of my mother's
Mm-hmm.
arms around me and a crushing pain.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then chapter 59 still, once the Fortos commander and his goons leave, so they're in Montios, and then all of a sudden the Fortos commander shows up and he's like, "You're coming with us." Goodness gracious, I'm sick of Fortos. Um,
Uh-huh.
so the little girl, Mabel, asks Diem if she wouldn't mind coming to have a word with her crown council, which I thought was cute. She's like, "Do I
Uh-huh.
have a choice?" And they're like, "Yeah, of course, but be nice if you come."
Yep.
Um, and then she says they have been awaiting her arrival. And Luther's also very cryptic, acting very cryptic about
Uh-huh.
like all of this, like he knows something. So little combo between Diem and Luther. Diem says, "Are you sure about this? The Montios king could execute us too." Luther says, "I don't think they want to hurt you. I've had a suspicion about something since Umbros, and if I'm right, dot dot dot."
Mm-hmm.
Diem says, "He didn't finish, but the look he gave me was bright with hopeful implication." So same chapter 59, the Montios Council is talking to her and says, "We hardly enforce the exile. We've always turned a blind eye to the mortals hiding in the Forgotten Lands, including the damn rebel camp, and look what's came of it. Our king, dot, 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 open-ended statement.
Yep.
So go ahead. You can start here."
Yeah. So I also had in chapter 59. So let's do this one together. Okay.
Okay.
The Forgotten Lands, the
Forgotten Lands.
patch of the Montios realm to the east, where Diem felt drawn to and heard the call for her godhood, in an area of the realm where Montios descended do not enter because it is evil and cursed.
Mm-hmm.
Most descended that go never return. Descended passing through on the ring road even started turning up dead. Not just dead, but tortured and defiled, their bodies strung up from trees with a symbol carved into their skin, a 10 pointed star. So, a 10 pointed star was what Jess and I went down on a freaking rabbit
Yep.
hole, I think, after we got done recording last week.
Yep.
Like, she was reading the epilogue and I was reading the
Uh,
first chapter of
uh-huh.
the first book.
Book one.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. So does this sound familiar? The 10 pointed star was what Orly was standing on in the temple on the
Yep.
Kindred Island in the epilogue of book one.
And we totally like breezed over it in book one because didn't even realize it was going to be important. But last week we're like, hold on a second. A
Wait a minute.
10 pointed star?
A 10 pointed star. Like, this is
Okay.
so different. And like, I'm so glad we went down that rabbit hole
Me
before we got to
too.
this chapter.
I was
Because
thinking that
I was
too.
like, we probably still would have been like, what the fuck?
I
Or
know.
something like that.
I know. That was, yeah. Um, okay, so now descended all over are turning up dead in great numbers. And every one of them has a symbol carved into them. So there was like an attack on Maros, and there was like 300 plus that were killed, descended, and every single one had the symbol, the 10 pointed star. And then DM's like, "Well, what about the children?" And they said they're all missing without a trace.
Mhm.
And then Montio says, "We know that there's a powerful descendant helping the mortals and believe this person is behind these attacks. There was an attack on Umbros 3 days prior, which would have been the last day that DM and the gang would have been there if they hadn't dipped out early."
Mhm.
And she says how, like, if they would have stayed, Luther would be dead, but how many more might be alive? And Montios is really nervous now because they're like, well, if Umbros got attacked, they think they might be next. Okay, and then again in 59, the end of the chapter, the end of what we read, we're really good at ending on really massive cliffhangers.
I know.
Um,
And it's really funny because I literally just picked them out of my
yeah.
butt. I'm like, yeah, if we do like this many pages and da 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 da, then we can end about
Mm-hmm.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, so DM says to I believe, well, it's all the counselors. So she says, quote, "My gaze rose slowly to the counselors. She says, I will help you however I can, but I have to ask, why are you telling me this?" Hepta says, I don't understand what you mean. DM says, why save me and bring me here? What is it your crown wants from me? Hepta says, Your Majesty, you are our crown. Like, what the fuck? What happened to their king? Now she's the queen of Montios too. Like, what is going on?
Yeah. Dude, I think the Montios king knew she was his heir at the
Yeah,
coronation.
I think you're right. And yeah, because they
That
can
was the
tell at the end of
confusion
their
and
life, and
stuff.
he was pretty obviously at the towards the end of his life.
Yeah. Or yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Now, on to honorable mentions.
All right, chapter 45. And aw, we were right. Sarai and Tybalt have feelings for each other and have for thousands of years, which we talked about already, but
I know, but it's so cute. I love it.
I also just think it's hilarious how you're like, oh, the animals are mated. That's adorable. You're like, the humans are mated. No, yuck. Move
Yep.
on.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
But hey, give me some credit because I also put in chapter 45 and it's Luther says, "Hello, beautiful," like
Yes.
as she's opening her eyes in the morning. And I loved that. It was so cute. And I will swoon all day long because that's what my husband says to me in the morning sometimes. So
Oh, that is cute. I
it's
love
very
that.
cute. It is very cute. Um, and then this one's funny. So, chapter 47, and Remus says, Must you make enemies everywhere you go? Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes, that is correct.
Yes. And then chapter 50, um, Luther says to DM, Show me your worst, my darling, and I will show you how far my love can go. Another swoon-worthy moment from Luther.
Uh-huh. All right. So, chapter 52, Arlie, and another description of her coppery red
Hmm.
hair, not brown, like a mortal.
I didn't
And
put
this
this in
has
my notes,
been,
but I caught that too.
it's been mentioned in every book, her coppery red
Hmm.
hair.
Yeah, not the
So,
muted colors typical for
uh-huh.
immortal. Yep,
Which is very interesting.
very
So,
interesting. She is an enigma wrapped in a
uh-huh.
mystery.
Uh-huh.
All right, chapter 54. Luther says to DM, Don't mistake the pain of change for failure.
Yes.
That was a deep, deep one.
I had that one too. Yeah.
Hmm. And then chapter 58. So Sarai and Ramari were friends, which
Uh-huh.
I put a heart emoji.
Of
That's
course you
so
did.
sweet.
I loved it.
And then Sarai takes DM to the place where Ramari died, and it's a patch of ground where it truly does never stop snowing, like the rumors and myths have said. And DM constructs a rose from ice with the last of her magic in tribute and a thanks to Ramari for using the last of her fire from beyond the grave to save them in Umbros.
Yep.
And this is also where we kind of, I think, learn that Sarai might have been forced to be a part of the attack on Ramari that it caused her to then end up dying later on.
Yeah. Well,
Because,
she
go ahead.
didn't, they didn't, she didn't attack Grimari. It was three of them going for
It was part
Tybalt.
of she was part of the fight,
Yeah.
which she
Yep.
would have obviously been forced into by the
Yep.
crown, by whoever was king at that time.
Yep. And like my kind of thought was like, I wonder if Ramari was like trying to take that on so that Saray didn't have to
Mm,
fight Tybalt. And that's
yeah,
why she got basically a killing blow from him.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. All right, then again, chapter 58. Diem returns from her little excursion with Sarai to find a livid Luther and Mom. And they all three start arguing, and Mom says, Arlie says, "She's my daughter," my mother hissed. Luther says, "And she is my whatever, dot, dot, dot." Luther stops himself abruptly, his roar echoing off the stone. "She's my mate," is what he was gonna say.
Uh-huh. Exactly. And then like she was gonna say something too, like when they were on the bridge or something like that. And then she didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what to say.
Yeah, which I
That's
don't think that she's convinced. I don't think yet that Diem is convinced that he's her mate, but she knows he's something to her. It also is kind of frustrating me that I'm like, all of these massive things are going on, all of these life-changing, life-altering things are going on, and you can't tell your mom that you have feelings for Luther? She can see it. But just use the
uh-huh.
words and say it.
Uh-huh.
That was irritating me this whole time.
So now we're moving on to the next section, which used to be thoughts and theories, but now we're calling it Jess's thoughts and LJ's theories
Yep.
because that's what it turns
Which I
into.
fully support because this is the truth.
All right, Jess, what's your thoughts?
First of all, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to come circle back to this eventually also at the end of my thoughts and theories, but the brother quote that the voice speaking through the King of Fortos is talking about, it has to be the 10th one, possibly her father, which is the gray man. And then the emotion that Sarai feels towards one of the kindred also has to be the 10th brother that Diem is supposed to be
Mhm.
aware of. Luther always says how her crown looked different. Okay, so this is where I kind of had a couple questions for you in here. So feel free
Okay.
to jump in as I'm
Yeah.
going here. Okay. So Montios knows she's their queen already when she goes to see them. But here's where I'm confused. Did the King of Montios die in the explosion during coronation? Because remember how Teller is like, your crown looks different, and she mentions how it looked different right after coronation. He's the only one who never got to finish the rite of coronation, and he hasn't been heard from that we know of since. So, like, did he die then, and she, in all the chaos, was already the queen of Montios? Or is it when her and Soraya are exploring Montios, like you and I were talking about a second ago, and she feels the call when they're looking towards the east, and then she hears the claimy daughter of the forgotten and notes how that has only happened two times before when she's taken on the crowns. So I don't I don't know.
Okay. So my thoughts are that um the King of Montios died at some point. I don't think he died on the island
Okay.
because somebody would have known about that. Like somebody would have been like, "Oh yeah, he died right then and there." Right? That doesn't make any sense. And then come daughter of the forgotten when she's looking to the east, she's looking towards the forgotten lands.
Mm-hmm.
So remember how in the vision, I think at the challenging when we first time see the moonlit silver man or whatever,
Yep.
and he goes, "Come, daughter of the forgotten, da 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 da."
Yeah.
Destroy the descendant with me or destroy this world with me, whatever he says.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is this forgotten lands, this forgotten place, this forgotten kindred that is calling to her to come to him. I
So
don't
do you
think,
think that that's when she took the crown for
no,
Montios then?
no, I think
Okay,
it's
so
a
when
totally
did
different
she?
crown. I think it's, what's the Gryvern from Montios' name?
Ramari.
So they go there, right?
Yeah.
And then she, like I said, for saving me, here's this. And I think that's when she's like found worthy by the Montios Gryvern
So
to
the king
hold the
would have had
crown.
to die at some point right in that moment then, because like as soon as the king of Umbros died, she got the, or not Umbros, sorry, Luminos died, she got the crown immediately. As soon as the king of Fortos died, she got the crown immediately. So as soon as the king of Montios died, she would have gotten the crown immediately.
Okay, but remember how she's saying about how the two times she'd heard it before, she claimed that?
Right.
She doesn't claim that. They go over to that spot next.
Mm-hmm.
So Ray takes her there. So I think she takes her to the other place and said, I don't think it has to do, I think she's given the crown, not
So you
claiming
think
it.
he died at some past point?
Uh-huh. And the Montios Scrivern was waiting to give. Does that make sense?
It does.
If that
No, it's
makes sense.
making sense. It's
But
making sense. I'm still unsure. Like I
I
want to
don't
know
know when
when
he
did
died.
the King of Montios die?
I don't know either.
Like I'm yeah.
But no, I think that like that calling was to the east. And I think it's number 10 in the east of
Hmm.
Montios in the Forgotten Lands in this forgotten spot. And it used to be its own thing. And that's why they call it the Forgotten. And he's the forgotten guy. And
And
I
she's the
think
daughter of the Forgotten.
he's calling to her again because she does not claim that. She doesn't claim it this time.
Okay. Kind of wondering. I know you don't think that that King of Montios maybe died on Coriel, and you have a convincing argument that somebody would have said something,
Yeah, 100%.
but no one can get a hold of him
Okay, but they know
since
their
the
successor. They know their successor, right?
right. So he knew that she was
He
gonna, but
knew,
they only know that towards the end of their life.
but they're
Okay, my thought
so.
is that he knew he was gonna die at
I
Coriel
feel
or
like we're gonna
close.
find out as soon as we
I
open the
think
freaking book
most
again, but
likely, most likely.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll move on. I guess I'll jump to the bottom of my thoughts that I threw in here because we're talking about it. The Forgotten Lands in Montios. I believe it is the 10th realm. That's why Montios is so much bigger. I think it was probably
Hmm.
this it meant eventually like meant to be two different realms and one was going to be the 10th realm for this 10th brother who is the Forgotten One, the lands of the Forgotten. She's the daughter of the Forgotten. She is his daughter.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think she is going to end up becoming ruler of every realm. Do you want me to start
No,
over?
you're good. I'm sorry. I got it.
No, you're good. So I think she's going to end up becoming the ruler of every realm eventually.
Mhm.
Um, it is interesting though how the Queen of Umbros said that her successor would be Diem's undoing and possibly put her in an early grave though. So
Mhm.
maybe she's talking about Diem herself. Like we were talking about like the fight, the internal fight she's going to end up having of
Mhm.
do I succumb to the darkness and just kill everyone or the healing magic? I don't know, but I do think she's going to end up. It seems like we're on the path of her becoming the ruler of every realm eventually, and the ruler of all Amarian eventually.
Yeah.
And I also think that that's why all of the Dragonfire reacted to her when she
Yeah.
went to the thing because it's the like you
They're all
said, like
trying to
maybe like
protect
this
her.
the souls of the kindred or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
like the all of the Gryverns are drawn to her because she's going to be all of the king's queen's successors.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, and then my last thought. So, Arlie and the Kindred Island and Diem's birth. Or not birth, or stealing. Who knows?
Yep.
So, my thoughts are a little discombobulated, so you can help me unravel them as I read here.
Okay.
Okay, so first, could Arlie have traveled? So, if let's just, for argument's sake, say Arlie was pregnant with Diem, and could she have traveled to the island to give birth to Diem, hoping that if she gave birth near where the Everflame used to stand, because we talked about that, how the pregnant women would go to the
Yep.
island to give birth under the Everflame in hopes that it would bless them.
Or
And
it would imbue them with the powers of the Everflame.
yes, and Orally uses the words like, I thought maybe that the gods had blessed us when you didn't show powers, that you were born with brown hair and brown eyes.
Hmm.
And so could she have possibly traveled there when she was pregnant, given birth to her near where the Everflame used to stand, and in hopes that it would spare her child from the magic of the descended that was in her blood, knowing who her father was. And then did he possibly, this 10th brother that we think is her father, maybe follow her there and try to get rid of Diem? And then that's also why Orly thinks that she killed him in defeating and protecting her child. Um, and then, yeah, so she says, oh, I already said that. Yeah, where she says that she was born with brown eyes. I thought the gods had blessed us. So the word bless makes me think she traveled there to get the Everflame's blessing. But then I also go back and think maybe she did steal Diem.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this guy is still her dad, but maybe she did steal Diem and Umbros like wiped her memories and all this. I don't know. Like I said, my thoughts and theories are all over the place. That's the last thing I've got here. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm
Okay.
sure you're gonna unravel it with your own
I
theories. So go
I
for
don't
it.
mean to unravel it, but
No, please go for it.
okay. So we'll start off there. I
Hmm.
don't think she's mortal.
Okay, so
I
we're back on
think
that. Yeah.
she is more or less a ancient person, maybe descended, that is maybe not necessarily fell in love with the forgotten guy, the number 10, right?
Hmm.
Because they were saying that he didn't want to do that, that he wanted destruction and he wanted to rule the world basically.
Hmm.
So I think Dee was definitely like she was left behind or something like that. And she is of relation to number 10. Okay.
Okay.
I think she was left under the Everflame tree, right? How I was saying about how, I think last time, about how the roots are basically like the icy hell or whatever,
Hmm.
that basically you can repay your debts or whatever to be part of the Everflame or something like that, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think she was in this maybe dungeon or whatever, and the person there was her keeper or just the person that was holding on to her, something. And he is the one that orally killed um on the island when when she came to get her.
Or thinks that she killed.
Yes. So I think at some point her actual mother, who I don't know who it is yet, came to the Kindred Island to do just that, to have her imbued with this power to stop these bad people. Okay. And
Hmm.
then Diem is like all the power, right? And she's going to have this choice whether she kills everybody or heals the world, right? So
Hmm.
whether she destroys the world with her the forgotten number 10 father, or she's going to heal the world, right? And
Hmm.
then like the king of Fortos was saying something about, oh, you think your mother's a healer, but like they never get to it. Her mom wasn't a healer.
That's true. There's a lot of that in there
There's
about
so
what
much
her mom
about that.
actually was.
Mm-hmm. Or is or whatever.
Hmm.
And then like she's so committed to the guardians and destroying all the descendants. It's what sounds like the number 10 is trying
Yeah,
to
it
do.
does.
That's what he wants to do. He wants Diem to help him destroy all the descended, which all the descended are basically bits and pieces of the kindred that are supposed
Hmm.
to all be behaving and playing and whatever.
What if Orly is, I don't mean to interrupt your thoughts and theories, I'm sorry. Um, but what if Orly is truly like what if that man with the red hair is a true guardian of the Everflame? And Orly is also a true guardian of the
Oh,
Everflame, but then she has Diem with this gray descended man. And so Diem is the balance because she is the product of a kindred
of both.
and a guardian of like a true guardian of the Everflame.
Yeah. Yeah. But I also want to know what the hell Orly's lying about, because she obviously admitted that that's
No.
not what I lied to you about, or
Yeah.
whatever she said. That wasn't a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And then DM's just like, whatever, da, da, da. I'm just a
Like
dumb silver
normal.
blonde. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what happened to the old king? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure we're going to find it out here in like
I'm
20
sure
minutes because I'm
in
probably going to start reading this.
I might too, depending on what time it is.
And then, okay, so he's coming to destroy them all. He's taking all the guardians with him, right? He wants all the guardians. All the guardians know to go to Montios. They'll be safe
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
But what is it, Dell or whatever from the first couple chapters? She was
Yeah.
like, take your mom and tell her to Montios. They'll be safe there. In like theory, that um Arlie shouldn't know about that camp in Montios and that should be safe there. So when they're trying to decide where to go or whatever, Arlie brings up first, go to Montios,
Yeah, that's true.
go to Montios. And then she's saying about how like Luther can't come go there with us or whatever like that. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think
I think she knows, and she's trying to get Diem to number 10.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's just the way, like you were talking about earlier, about how she's not doing she's basically like, yep, whatever, you have the crown, like, but you're still my little girl.
Yep.
Like, you're still my little girl. You don't know how to use your powers. Da, 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 da.
Yeah.
Like, very just like it's so the freaking old crony from Tangled, man. That's exactly what it is. Like
She's
a
very patronizing and passive aggressive
mm-hmm,
about the whole thing.
mm-hmm. And it's very like, my precious, but I don't actually love you, but
Yeah.
you are my weapon to wield,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't like it.
No, I don't trust her at all.
Yeah, I don't at all. She's bad news bears, but I've been saying that for a little bit now. But
Yeah.
yep. But yeah, I still think she's a stolen baby. She's a stolen baby.
I'm
But
still like
my
half and half. I've got one foot in that
okay,
camp and
but
I've
like,
got one
why
foot in
were
the other camp.
so okay, think about it. How would her memories be erased?
I know.
Orly would go to freaking Umbrios and stuff.
But we know that the Queen of Umbros was familiar with her mother anyways, and she kept saying, like, your mom has a part to play in this. Like, Queen of Umbros knows her mom. And we thought it was just because they were smuggling the the halvesies out. But what if Orly did take Diem to the Queen of Umbros to have her
To have
memories
her
wiped?
memories wiped.
Mm-hmm.
I think DM's older than she knows.
I do think that too. See, I'm so torn. I am so half and half right now on is she actually Orly's daughter or was she stolen by Orly? I don't know.
And
They're
like, okay, this last like dream memory or whatever of her mom's arms around her, and she has like
yes.
pain, and there's obviously war going on behind her.
But see, I still think that could point to her either her mom was stealing her and fighting this man or whatever to get her out, or it could point to she was defending her own child against her psycho father and trying to get her out. I still think it's
I'm still not
fifty-fifty.
buying it. I still think she's a bitch. Anyway. All right.
We
Are we
better
good?
find
Are we
out in this
good?
book. We
We
have
better find out.
16 chapters left.
I'll
16 more
throw
chapters. I
it.
don't feel like that's enough time to like answer all of our
It's not
questions.
going to be like, we've
I
already seen, it's going to be
know.
on another cliffhanger, or we're like, okay, we know that, but what's the next
Yeah,
page? And there's not going to be one.
I know.
Okay.
Okay, I'm good.
Are we ready to move on?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's move on.
All right. So, jaw tick counter, because this stuff annoys the crap out of me. We've had 33 so far in this book, and then there's 23 more in this section, which makes 56 so far in this book.
Goodness.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then growling count 28 in the past sections and 17 in this one, which makes 45 for this book.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
All right. Cry counter so far for this series. Jess,
Still at one.
still at the one, the two halves.
Two halves.
And I'm still at 0.
Okay.
So we promised a clue for our next series.
Your first and second clues can be found in the previous videos.
The final clue: there are 4-letter O's on the book cover.
So, next week's episode, we will be reading and discussing Heat of the Everflame by Penn Cole, Book 3 in the Kindred Curse series, chapters 60 through the end of the book, the end of the whole series so far. And since Book 4 isn't out yet, this will be the end of it for now.
Yeah. But it sounds like this fall it
Mm-hmm.
could be coming out. But for now, this will be our last part and reading section of this series. So please, 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 please make sure to read through the very last page of the book before coming back next week.
And if you're enjoying reading along with us or just enjoying our conversations and theories, be sure to like this video and hit that like and subscribe on your way out.
And reading all these series with book besties is so much fun.
So share with your book bestie.
And until next time, fill those drinks with ice.
And your books with spice.
Bye.
Bye. Can we go finish the book now?
Yes, ready, set, go.
Okay.